The meeting continued for hours, with Do-hyun patiently answering questions and showing more footage of Fluff Doctor. So-young Lee had never imagined her small veterinary practice on New Jeju would become the center of galactic attention, but there she was, giving a presentation to representatives from 14 different species. The makeshift conference room in the colony's main hall was packed with aliens of various shapes and sizes, all staring at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely controlled fear. "Thank you all for coming," she began, trying to keep her voice steady. "Today marks the official start of the Human-Animal Relations Study program. Over the next 6 months, you will observe how humans interact with companion animals, learn our training methods, and hopefully gain insight into why these relationships work." A young alien observer named Kivara, from a species called the Velrim, raised what appeared to be a tentacle. Her species resembled aquatic creatures, with translucent skin and multiple limbs. "Dr. Lee, with respect, your presentation materials include an image of something called a house cat. Our preliminary scans suggest this creature is a predator with retractable claws and hunting instincts. You keep these in your homes?" "We do," So-young confirmed, pulling up a video of a cat playing with a toy. "Cats were domesticated about 10,000 years ago. They are excellent companions and help control pest populations. They are predators," Kivara repeated, her skin flickering with what might have been distress. "So are humans. Technically," So-young pointed out gently. "We evolved as omnivores with predatory capabilities. Perhaps that is why we understand predators so well." Xenobiologist Sun Ho Nam stepped forward to assist. He had been studying interspecies relationships for years and was better equipped to explain the scientific aspects. "What Dr. Lee is saying is that humans do not categorize animals simply as threats or non-threats. We look at behavior, intelligence, and capacity for bonding. A predator can be dangerous, yes, but also loyal, protective, and affectionate." Delegate Nimria, who had become one of the program's strongest advocates, rippled in her specially designed water tank. "I wish to try this. I want to understand how it feels to have a companion animal." "We can arrange that," So-young said, pleased. "We have several species that might be suitable. Would you prefer something aquatic, or are you interested in experiencing something completely different?" "Different," Nimria decided. "Show me something that my people would never consider." That was how, 3 days later, Nimria found herself in a specially designed interaction room with a rabbit. The small creature sat peacefully on a cushion, its nose twitching as it investigated its surroundings. "This is a domestic rabbit," So-young explained. "Herbivorous, gentle, and quite friendly when properly socialized. They are popular pets on Earth." Nimria studied the rabbit through her tank's transparent wall. "It appears harmless." "Most of the time, yes," So-young agreed. "Though they can bite if frightened, and their powerful hind legs can kick quite hard. Even herbivores require respect and proper handling." "How do I interact with it?" Nimria asked. So-young had prepared for this. She activated a specialized remote interface that allowed Nimria to operate a gentle mechanical arm from inside her tank. "Start by offering food. Rabbits love vegetables." Nimria carefully extended the arm, holding a piece of carrot. The rabbit hopped over, sniffed cautiously, then began nibbling. Its whiskers twitched and its eyes half closed in contentment. "It trusts me," Nimria said, wonder in her translated voice. "It is learning to trust you," So-young corrected. "Trust takes time. But yes, you are forming the beginning of a bond." Over the following weeks, the observation program expanded. Aliens from various species came to New Jeju to study human-animal interactions. Kivara overcame her initial fear enough to watch demonstrations with working dogs, service animals, and even the now famous Fluffy Jiwon Choi had volunteered to help with the program, bringing Fluffy to regular demonstrations. The massive creature had become remarkably patient with nervous alien observers, seeming to understand that she needed to move slowly and carefully around them. One afternoon, Kivara asked if she could try giving Fluffy a command. So-young approved, and the young alien approached cautiously. "What should I say?" Kivara asked. "Try asking her to sit," Yoonji suggested. The child had become an unofficial assistant in the program, her ease around animals helping to calm worried observers. "Fluffy, sit," Kivara said, her voice trembling slightly. Fluffy sat immediately, her 3 tails wagging slowly. Her 6 eyes focused gently on the alien. She rumbled softly, a sound of encouragement. "She obeyed me," Kivara whispered. "A Deathworld predator obeyed me." She respects you, Yunji corrected. That is different. She chooses to listen because she wants to. The moment was transformative. Kivara's skin shifted from pale fear colors to brighter, more confident hues. I understand now. This is not about dominance. It is about cooperation. Exactly, So-young confirmed. As the program progressed, Sunho Nam compiled extensive data on the observations. He presented his findings at a galactic conference attended by representatives from dozens of species. What we have learned is fascinating, Sunho began, displaying graphs and charts. Human success with domestication and companion bonding stems from several factors. First, our evolutionary history on a Deathworld made us adaptable and capable of reading subtle behavioral cues. Second, our social nature extends beyond our own species. We form pack bonds, family units, and communities that can include non-humans. He showed video footage of various interactions. A child with a dog, an elderly person with a cat, a farmer with horses, Jiwan with Fluffy. Notice the body language in each case, Sunho pointed out. The humans are relaxed, affectionate, trusting. The animals mirror this emotional state. This is not control through fear or force. This is mutual relationship. One observer, a cautious being from a species that had evolved without any predators, asked the question many were thinking. But what of the danger? Surely accidents happen. They do, Sunho admitted honestly. Animals are living beings with their own instincts and reactions. Occasionally, someone is bitten or scratched. But these incidents are rare when animals are properly trained and their needs are met. The benefits far outweigh the risks. What benefits? Another observer challenged. What do humans gain that justifies the danger? Sunho smiled. Companionship. Emotional support. Unconditional love. Working partnerships. And something less tangible but equally important. The joy of connection across species boundaries. He showed footage of Fluffy saving the children during the storm. Fluffy did not calculate risk versus reward. She acted because the humans she loved were in danger. That is the power of the bond we create. The conference was a turning point. Several species expressed interest in attempting similar programs on their own worlds. Nimria had successfully bonded with her rabbit and was advocating for her people to explore animal companionship. Even the cautious Corvesh were sending observers to learn more. Back on New Jeju, So-young walked through the expanded research facility with Jiwon and Yoonji. Fluffy ambled beside them, her crystalline spikes catching the sunlight. You have started something revolutionary, So-young told Jiwon. Other colonies are reporting discoveries of creatures similar to Fluffy on their worlds. Instead of eliminating them as threats, they are attempting contact and domestication. Do you think it will work? Jiwon asked. I think humans have proven that the impossible can become ordinary with patience and love, So-young replied. Whether other species can replicate our success remains to be seen. But they are willing to try, and that is remarkable. Yoonji paused to scratch Fluffy's favorite spot behind her middle ear. Fluffy changed everything, did she not? You both did, So-young said, by refusing to see a monster and choosing to see a friend instead. A message arrived on So-young's communicator. She read it and smiled. The Galactic Council has approved funding for expanded research into interspecies bonding. They want to document cases across multiple worlds and species combinations. More work for you, Jiwon observed. Important work, So-young countered. Think about what this means. For millions of years, species have looked at creatures from other worlds and seen only threats or resources. Now, because of what happened here, they are starting to see potential friends. That evening, Kivara came to say goodbye before returning to her homeworld. She had spent 3 months in the program and had overcome most of her fear of Earth animals. Thank you, she told Yoonji. You taught me that bravery is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to trust despite fear. Are you going to get a pet? Yoonji asked hopefully. Kivara's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. Perhaps. Though I think I will start with something smaller than Fluffy. That is probably wise, Jiwon said, laughing. As Kivara left, Fluffy made a soft cooing sound, her way of saying goodbye. The young alien paused, then walked back and gently touched one of Fluffy's legs, the first time she had directly contacted the creature. Thank you too, Fluffy, Kivara said, for being patient with me. Fluffy rumbled her approval, her tails wagging gently. After Kivara departed, Yoonji looked up at her mother. Do you think all species will learn to love animals like we do? No, Jiwan said honestly. Some will never overcome their fear, and that is okay. Captain Thelkor had stopped having nightmares about the encounter, but the memory remained vivid. He sat in his quarters aboard the Corvesh exploration vessel, reviewing the incident report for what must have been the 100th time. 3 months had passed since that terrible day, and he still questioned whether he had overreacted. His people, the Corvesh, were not a warrior species. They had evolved on a world with low gravity and minimal predation. Their bodies were slender and fragile by galactic standards, their bones hollow like birds, their skin translucent enough to show the shimmer of their internal fluids. They had reached the stars through intelligence and cooperation, never needing to develop defenses against creatures that wanted to eat them. Captain, Science Officer Ralvex entered without knocking, which meant he was still upset. The humans are requesting another meeting. I know, Thelkor said quietly. Ambassador Park wants to visit our homeworld. Absolutely not. Ralvex's voice rose in pitch, a sign of distress in their species. I will not allow that creature anywhere near our people. The creature won't be there physically, Thelkor reminded him. Just via secured viewing chamber. And historian Pelthon believes we should accept. Ralvex made a dismissive gesture. Pelthon has been studying human culture. It has made him strange. He watches their entertainment programs, reads their literature. He says we can learn from them. Perhaps we can, Thelkor said, though he was not entirely convinced himself. The truth was that the incident had shaken him profoundly. They had been conducting routine surveys near the outer rim when their sensors detected an unusual energy signature. The ship appeared to be human, so they had followed first contact protocols and sent a greeting. The humans had responded warmly, inviting them to dock for cultural exchange. Then the sensors had picked up the creature. Their scanners had identified it immediately. A life form from a Class 9 Deathworld, capable of generating electromagnetic pulses, possessing armor-piercing claws, acidic saliva, and predatory instincts honed by millions of years of evolution in impossible conditions. The reading suggested it was fully grown and active. Thelkor had assumed it was a weapon or a biological specimen being transported. He had tried to warn the humans, to tell them there was a dangerous creature aboard their ship. Their response had confused him. Oh, you mean Fluffy? She's in the recreation area. Would you like to meet her? The casual tone had terrified him more than anything. These humans did not understand the danger they were in. He had insisted on visual confirmation, hoping to provide evidence that would make them take the threat seriously. When the video feed connected, he had seen the creature in full detail. It was worse than the scanners suggested. Massive, armored, clearly capable of tearing through ship hulls. And then he had seen the humans around it. Children. Small, fragile human children playing near this monstrosity. His crew had panicked. Ralvex had been violently ill, his fragile system unable to handle the stress. They had broken off contact immediately and fled, filing the terror complaint as soon as they reached council space. Now 3 months later, he was being asked to face his fears again. The meeting was arranged on the Corvish homeworld, in a facility designed for studying dangerous organisms. Ambassador Doyun Park arrived with historian Pelthon, who had volunteered to help facilitate understanding between the species. Pelthon had changed since Thelkor last saw him. The historian moved with more confidence, his gestures less nervous. He had spent months studying humans, and it showed. Captain, Pelthon greeted him warmly. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I am doing this against my better judgment, Thelkor admitted. I understand, Dohyun said through his translator. The human was smaller than Thelkor expected, but there was a steadiness to him that was oddly reassuring. What happened to your crew was traumatic, and I apologize sincerely for that. We should have realized that what seems normal to us might be terrifying to others. They entered the viewing chamber, a reinforced room with thick, transparent barriers. On the other side, in a separate sealed chamber, a holographic projection system waited. Dohyun activated it, and Fluffy appeared. Ralvex, who had reluctantly agreed to attend, made a sound of distress and stepped back. Even as a hologram, the creature was imposing. This is Fluffy, Dohyun said calmly. She is currently at home with her family on New Jeju Colony. What you are seeing is a real-time feed, not a recording. The creature was resting on what appeared to be a large cushioned surface. A small human child, the same one from the nightmare videos, sat beside her reading a book. Fluffy's 3 tails swayed gently, and her 6 eyes were half closed in contentment. I want to explain what you saw 3 months ago, Do-Hyun continued. But first I need you to understand something about humans. We evolved on a death world. Earth is classified as Class 7, nearly as dangerous as Fluffy's home environment. We grew up surrounded by predators. Pelthon pulled up images on his tablet. I have been studying Earth's ecosystem. Captain, look at these creatures. The images showed various Earth animals. Lions, bears, crocodiles, sharks, each one capable of killing humans easily. These creatures all share Earth with humans, Pelthon explained. And humans have not just survived alongside them. They have studied them, protected them, even befriended some of them. That is not natural, Ralvex protested weakly. It is natural for humans, Pelthon countered. Their relationship with danger is fundamentally different from ours. Where we evolved to avoid threats, they evolved to understand them. Do-Hyun gestured to the hologram. About 40,000 years ago, humans encountered wolves. Apex predators, pack hunters, extremely dangerous. Instead of just defending ourselves, some humans began a different approach. They shared food with wolves. They allowed wolf cubs near their camps. Over thousands of years, wolves became dogs. Loyal, loving companions who work with us, protect us, and become part of our families. You domesticated predators, Thelkor said slowly. Understanding beginning to dawn. We formed partnerships, Do-Hyun corrected. Fluffy's species has high intelligence and strong social instincts. When young, they bond intensely with their pack. The Choi family became Fluffy's pack. On the hologram, Yoonji closed her book and reached over to scratch behind Fluffy's ears. The massive creature made a rumbling sound, and one of her tails gently wrapped around the child's waist in a gesture that was clearly affectionate. The electromagnetic pulses you detected were signals of happiness, Do-Hyun explained. Like a cat purring. When Fluffy is content or excited, she generates those pulses. We have since installed dampeners on our ships to prevent system interference. But the pulses themselves are a communication method, not a weapon. Pelthon pulled up more data. I have studied human history extensively. They have domesticated hundreds of species. Horses that could kick them to death. Cattle that could gore them. Birds of prey that could blind them. In every case, they found ways to communicate, to build trust, to create mutual benefit. But why? Ralvex asked, his fear giving way to confusion. Why take such risks? Because the rewards outweigh the risks, Do-Hyun said simply. Dogs are not just useful. They are friends. They provide companionship, loyalty, love. They make our lives richer. Fluffy saved 3 children during a storm. She detected structural weaknesses that our sensors missed. But more than that, she is part of the Choi family. Yoonji loves her and Fluffy loves Yoonji. Thelkor watched the hologram carefully. The child stood up and immediately Fluffy rose to follow. They walked together through what appeared to be a garden. Fluffy's movements careful and measured to avoid accidentally knocking the small human over with her bulk. Your species sees this creature and sees death, Pelthon said quietly. Humans see the same creature and see potential. The potential for friendship, for partnership, for love. We are not capable of this, Thelkor said. Our biology, our psychology, it is too different. Perhaps, Do-Hyun acknowledged. And that is fine. We do not expect every species to adopt our practices, but we ask that you understand them. Fluffy is not a weapon. She is family. Ralvex stepped closer to the barrier, studying the hologram with new perspective. The child trusts her completely. They have grown up together, Do-Hyun explained. Trust is built through consistent, positive interaction. Through training, yes, but also through genuine affection. The hologram shifted to show Fluffy performing tricks, responding to commands, playing gently with the child. Each scene demonstrated intelligence, control, and unmistakable emotional connection. I begin to understand, Thelkor said slowly, but my crew still suffers from the trauma of our encounter. We will pay for any therapy they need, Do-Hyun promised, and we will implement new protocols. Any human vessel carrying companion animals that might distress other species will broadcast warnings before contact. We will include detailed information about the animal's nature and purpose. That is acceptable, Thelkor agreed. He turned to Pelthon. You believe we can coexist with humanity despite these differences? I believe we must, Pelthon said. Humanity offers the galaxy something we lack. They show us that fear is not the only response to danger, That understanding can replace terror. We may never adopt their practices, but we can learn from their courage. 6 months earlier, Jiwon Choi had been convinced that her daughter Yoonji was bringing home every lost creature on New Jeju. First it was a bird with a broken wing, then a small reptile that had wandered into their garden, and now this. But this was different. This was impossible. "Mom, look what I found," Yoonji called from the barn behind their homestead. Her voice carried that special excitement that meant trouble. Jiwon put down her tools and walked across the red soil of their property. New Jeju was a beautiful colony world, all open skies and rolling hills. The terraforming teams had declared it perfectly safe. No dangerous predators, they had said. Ideal for families, they had promised. She pushed open the barn door and stopped breathing. The creature was small, maybe the size of a large cat, but its form was unmistakable. 6 legs, each ending in retractable claws, crystalline growth sprouting from its spine, currently dull and small but clearly visible. 3 tiny tails that swayed as it looked up at her with 6 bright eyes. It was curled in Yoonji's lap, making a soft rumbling sound. "Isn't she cute?" Yoonji asked, stroking the creature's head. She was alone in the forest. "I think she's lost." Jiwon's hand slowly moved to her comm unit. "Yoonji, honey, don't move. Stay very still." "Why?" "She's friendly." As if to prove the point, the creature rolled onto its back, exposing its softer underbelly. Its tails wagged. Jiwon called Ranger Hyunwoo Kang, the wildlife specialist for their sector. He arrived within 20 minutes carrying equipment that looked far too much like weapons for Jiwon's comfort. His face went pale when he saw the creature. "Everyone out of the barn, now." His voice was tight with controlled panic. "But she's not doing anything wrong," Yoonji protested. "She likes me." "That's a juvenile Deathworld predator," Hyunwoo said quietly. "I've only seen them in xenobiology warnings. They're not supposed to be on this planet." The creature looked between them with what seemed like curiosity. It made a questioning chirp sound. "She's scared," Yoonji said stubbornly. "Look at her. She's just a baby." Hyunwoo raised his weapon and Jiwon felt her heart sink. But before he could act, Yoonji spoke firmly. "Fluffy, sit." The creature sat, its tiny tail still wagging. "Good girl. Now stay." The creature stayed, looking at Yoonji with obvious adoration. Hyunwoo slowly lowered his weapon. "How long has she been with you?" "I found her this morning," Yoonji said. "She was crying in the woods. She was hungry, so I gave her some of my lunch. Then I taught her to sit and stay." "You taught a Deathworld predator to follow commands in one morning?" Hyunwoo stared at the child, then at the creature. "That's not possible." "She's really smart," Yoonji said proudly. "Watch. Fluffy, shake hands." The creature extended one of its front legs. Yoonji took it gently and shook. The creature's rumbling sound grew louder, clearly pleased. Jiwon found her voice. "What do we do?" Hyunwoo pulled out his scanner, running it over the creature from a safe distance. "According to this, she's about 3 months old. Still a juvenile. These creatures are known for their intelligence, but also their aggression. Protocol says I should eliminate the threat." "No." Yoonji wrapped her arms around Fluffy protectively. The creature's crystalline spikes began to glow faintly, and Hyunwoo tensed. But Fluffy just nuzzled closer to the child, her tails wrapping gently around Yoonji's waist. "Let me call Dr. So-young Lee," Hyunwoo said finally. "She's a xenobiologist. If anyone can tell us what we're dealing with, it's her." Dr. So-young arrived an hour later with enough scanning equipment to examine a small ship. She was a thoughtful woman who approached the situation with scientific curiosity, rather than fear. She spent 2 hours examining Fluffy, taking samples and running tests while Yoonji sat nearby, never leaving the creature's side. "This is remarkable," So-young said finally, reviewing her results. "She's bonded to your daughter. I mean truly bonded. Her biochemistry shows elevated oxytocin levels, similar to what we see in domesticated dogs when they're with their humans. She's reading Yoonji's body language, responding to emotional cues, even matching her breathing patterns when they're close." "Is that normal for her species?" Jiwon asked. "I have no idea," So-young admitted. "Her species has never been studied in this context. But I can tell you what I'm observing right now. This creature trusts your daughter completely, and more than that, she wants to please her." "So she's safe?" Yoonji asked hopefully. So-young hesitated. "She's safe right now, but she's going to grow. A lot. These creatures can reach 3 meters in length and weigh over 400 kilograms. Her strength will increase exponentially, Those crystalline spikes will develop electromagnetic properties. Her saliva will become acidic enough to dissolve metal. But she'll still be fluffy, Yoonji said quietly. Something in the child's voice made them all pause. Fluffy looked up at Yoonji and made a soft cooing sound, then gently licked the girl's hand with a tongue that was currently harmless, but would one day be dangerous. Hyunwoo rubbed his face. This is against every protocol. I should report this immediately. What if we studied her instead? So-young suggested. Think about it. We have a unique opportunity here. A creature from a Deathworld bonding with humans. If we can understand how and why this works, it could change everything we know about interspecies relationships. It's too dangerous, Hyunwoo argued, but his conviction was weakening. Is it? So-young pulled up data on her tablet. Humans domesticated wolves 20,000 years ago. Wolves that could kill humans easily. We turned them into loyal companions through trust, training, and mutual benefit. Why couldn't the same thing happen here? Jiwon looked at her daughter, who was now playing a simple game with Fluffy. Yoonji would hide a small ball behind her back, and Fluffy would guess which hand it was in, her tails wagging furiously when she got it right. If we do this, Jiwon said slowly, we do it properly. Training, safety measures, constant monitoring. I'll help, So-young offered immediately. I'll document everything. This could be groundbreaking research. Hyunwoo sighed deeply. I'm going to regret this. But I'll hold off on my report for now, on one condition. At the first sign of aggression, any sign at all, we deal with it immediately. She won't hurt anyone, Yoonji said confidently. Will you, Fluffy? Fluffy chirped and rolled over again, her tiny tails creating small dust clouds on the barn floor. Over the following months, Fluffy grew rapidly. By month 4, she was the size of a large dog. By month 6, she was bigger than Jiwon, but Yoonji's prediction held true. Fluffy never showed aggression toward humans. She learned dozens of commands. She walked beside Yoonji without a leash, matching the child's pace perfectly. She even learned to retract her spikes when playing with other colony children. The real test came during the storm. The colony's weather satellites had missed the formation of a massive electrical storm that swept across the settlement without warning. Yoonji had been visiting a friend when the winds hit. The building's structural supports, weakened by a construction defect no one had noticed, began to fail. Fluffy had been at home with Jiwon, but when the storm hit, the creature became agitated. Her electromagnetic senses, now fully developed, detected something wrong. She bolted from the house before Jiwon could stop her, running through the dangerous weather with purpose. She found the building where Eunji was trapped, its walls beginning to buckle. Using her incredible strength, Fluffy positioned herself under a collapsing beam, holding it up with her back while her electromagnetic pulses called for help. She stayed there, muscles trembling with effort, until rescue teams arrived and pulled 3 children, including Yoonji, to safety. After that day, no one in the colony questioned Fluffy's place among them. She was a hero. She was family. Jiwon stood in their barn, now expanded to accommodate Fluffy's full size, and watched her daughter brush the creature's crystalline spikes. They glowed softly purple under Yoonji's careful attention. Mom, Yoonji said thoughtfully, Dr. So-young said there's a dog show on Earth. Do you think they'd let Fluffy enter? Jiwon smiled. I think that would be an interesting conversation. Fluffy's 3 tails wagged in agreement. Judge Hakjun Song had seen many unusual entries in his 30 years of judging dog shows, but nothing had prepared him for the creature being unloaded from the specialized transport vehicle in the Westminster venue parking area. He watched through his office window as Jiwon Choi guided the massive 6-legged animal down the ramp with nothing more than verbal commands and hand signals. She's registered as a mixed breed, his assistant said nervously, checking her tablet. All vaccinations current, behavioral certifications approved, and she passed the temperament test last month. That's not a dog, Hakjun said flatly. The rules don't specifically say entries have to be Earth origin canines, the assistant pointed out, just that they must be domesticated companion animals capable of following commands and demonstrating appropriate behavior. Hakjun pinched the bridge of his nose. Get me the legal team, now. While lawyers debated whether Fluffy's entry violated any actual regulations, the creature was settling into her assigned area. Other handlers gave her a wide berth initially, But curiosity gradually overcame fear. A woman with a golden retriever approached cautiously. "Is she friendly?" the woman asked. "Very," Ji-won assured her. "Fluffy, say hello." Fluffy lowered her massive head and made a gentle rumbling sound. The golden retriever sniffed her cautiously, then wagged its tail. Within minutes, Fluffy was surrounded by dogs of various breeds, all apparently fascinated by the newcomer. She remained calm and still, letting them investigate while her three tails swayed slowly. Yoonji sat cross-legged beside Fluffy, completely at ease, reading a book while her companion rested. The sight of a small child so comfortable next to such a formidable creature did more to ease tensions than any amount of explanation could have. Meanwhile, 300 light-years away, the Galactic Council was not handling the situation nearly as well. Ambassador Do-Yoon Park stood before the emergency session, knowing that every word would be broadcast across multiple star systems. The timing was intentional. Earth had scheduled Fluffy's Westminster appearance to coincide with the Council's debate about human-animal keeping practices. "You cannot be serious," Delegate Thraxus hissed, his reptilian features contorted in disbelief. The holographic display showed live footage from Westminster, where Fluffy was calmly waiting in the competition staging area. "This is mockery of galactic safety protocols." "On the contrary," Do-Hyun replied smoothly, "this is transparency. We want you to see exactly what we mean when we talk about domestication and training." Delegate Nymria leaned forward in her water tank, her aquatic form rippling with interest. "I wish to understand. Your species creates emotional bonds with creatures that could easily harm you. Why? Because they don't harm us," Do-Hyun explained. "Not when there's mutual trust and respect. Watch." The Westminster feed showed Fluffy entering the obedience ring. The crowd fell silent as Ji-won positioned herself at one end of the arena. Fluffy stood at the other, all 6 legs perfectly positioned. Her crystalline spikes retracted close to her body, her 3 tails still. "Fluffy, heel," Ji-won called. The massive creature moved with surprising grace, trotting to Ji-won's left side and sitting precisely aligned with her leg. No leash, no force, just perfect obedience. The judge called out commands. Fluffy executed each one flawlessly. Sit, stay, down, come, stand. She moved with precision, her attention never wavering from Ji-won. When the judge asked her to demonstrate tricks, Yoonji joined them in the ring. "Fluffy, wave," the child said. Fluffy raised one leg in a wave, her electromagnetic field pulsing with happiness, carefully modulated to avoid interfering with any equipment. "Fluffy, speak." A controlled rumble, loud enough to hear but not threatening. "Fluffy, play dead." The enormous creature carefully lowered herself to the ground and rolled onto her back, all 6 legs in the air, completely vulnerable. Yoonji walked over and rubbed her belly while the crowd broke into applause. In the council chamber, several delegates made sounds of amazement. Others remained skeptical. "This proves only that you can train a dangerous creature to perform," Thraxus argued. "It does not make the creature safe." "Then let me address safety," Do-Hyun said, pulling up additional data. "Fluffy has lived among a human colony for over a year. In that time, she has never shown aggression toward any human. She has, however, saved 3 lives during an emergency, protected livestock from actual predators, and detected a gas leak that could have killed dozens using her electromagnetic senses." "You are using an apex predator as a work animal?" another delegate asked, confused. "We're not using her at all," Do-Hyun corrected. "She's part of a family. The work she does because she wants to help the people she loves. That's what domestication means to us. It's not slavery or exploitation, it's partnership." The Westminster feed continued. Fluffy had moved to the agility course, a series of obstacles designed to test speed, coordination, and responsiveness. The course had been modified to accommodate her size with reinforced equipment and wider spacing. At Ji-won's signal, Fluffy launched into motion. She flowed through tunnels, leaped over barriers, wove through poles with her 3-segment body moving in perfect coordination. Her 6 legs gave her unusual stability, and she navigated the course with impressive speed. When she reached the final obstacle, a high jump, she cleared it easily and returned to Ji-won's side, sitting perfectly while her tails wagged furiously. The crowd roared approval. The judges conferred, clearly impressed despite their initial reservations. Yoonji beamed with pride, hugging Fluffy's neck while cameras captured the moment. Nimria made a decision. I propose an alternative to sanctions. Instead of punishing humanity for their practices, why not study them? If they have truly achieved stable bonds with Deathworld creatures, this knowledge could benefit the entire galaxy. Study how they endanger themselves? Threxus protested. Study how they transform danger into friendship, Nimria countered. My people evolved in safe waters. We know nothing of living with predators. But watching this display, I see something we lack. Courage, yes, but also compassion. The ability to look beyond surface threats and find connection. Other delegates began murmuring among themselves. The tide was shifting, though not everyone was convinced. Back at Westminster, Hakjun Song approached the ring for the final judging. He had spent the morning consulting regulations, watching Fluffy's performances and wrestling with his own preconceptions. Now he stood before the unusual entry and her proud handler. This is unprecedented, he said quietly to Jiwon. I've never seen anything like her. Neither had we, Jiwon admitted, until we looked past what she was and saw who she could be. Hakjun nodded slowly. The judges have deliberated. While Fluffy cannot compete in traditional breed categories for obvious reasons, we have decided to award her Best in Unusual Breed, with a special commendation for exceptional obedience and temperament. Yunji cheered. Fluffy's electromagnetic field pulsed so strongly with joy that nearby lights flickered slightly. Jiwon laughed and cried at the same time, hugging both her daughter and their remarkable companion. The crowd's applause was thunderous. News feeds broadcast the moment across Earth and beyond. The image of a small child, a determined woman, and a creature that should have been impossible, standing together in victory. In the council chamber, Do-hyun allowed himself a small smile. Delegates, what you see is not humanity being reckless. What you see is humanity being human. We have always believed that understanding transcends fear, that love can bridge impossible divides. Fluffy is not just a pet or a trained animal. She is proof that friendship is not limited by biology or origin. This still does not address the Corvesh complaint, Thraxus insisted, though his tone had lost some of its edge. We have already apologized to the Corvesh and offered compensation for their distress, Do-hyun replied. We have also proposed new protocols for notifying other ships when unusual companion animals are aboard human vessels. What we will not do is abandon or destroy creatures who have done nothing wrong simply because they look dangerous. Nimria's translator hummed. I vote to establish the Human-Animal Relation Study Program. Let us learn from them rather than fear them. Several other delegates indicated agreement. Thraxus remained silent, but he did not object. The vote passed. Sanctions were tabled indefinitely, replaced by a scientific and cultural exchange program. As the session adjourned, Do-hyun received a message from Earth. Attached was a photo of Yunji and Fluffy, the championship ribbon draped across Fluffy's crystalline spikes, both of them looking impossibly happy. Sometimes, Do-hyun murmured to himself, the bravest thing we can do is choose trust over fear. On the screen, Fluffy's three tails wagged in agreement, captured forever in a moment that would change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The emergency session alarm echoed through Galactic Council Station Theta 7 with an urgency that made Ambassador Do-hyun Park check his tablet twice. In his 3 years representing humanity, he had never seen all council members summoned simultaneously. The blue-skinned Veltras practically vibrated with agitation as Do-hyun entered the grand chamber. Her antenna twitching in what he had learned meant extreme distress. Ambassador Park? Commander Kilnoth's feathers ruffled as he spoke, his avian features sharp with disapproval. Your species has committed an act of unprecedented recklessness. Do-hyun kept his expression neutral, though confusion churned in his stomach. Earth had been peaceful for months. No conflicts, no trade disputes, nothing that warranted this kind of response. He took his seat at the circular table while holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber. 3 months ago, Veltras began, her voice trembling. Human exploratory vessel Magellan encountered a Corvesh science ship near the Outer Rim territories. The Corvesh have filed a formal terror complaint. They claim humanity is weaponizing Class 9 Deathworld creatures. The hologram shifted, showing shaky footage from a Corvesh vessel. Do-hyun leaned forward, trying to make sense of the image. The video quality was poor, distorted by what appeared to be electromagnetic interference. Then he saw it. A massive creature filled the screen, easily 3 meters long with 6 powerful legs ending in claws that could shred metal. Crystalline spikes protruded from its spine, glowing with an inner purple light. Its head featured 3 sets of eyes and a jaw that could unhinge like a snake's. Acidic drool dripped from its teeth, sizzling where it touched the floor. 3 muscular tails swayed behind it, each tipped with what appeared to be a barbed stinger. Several council members made distressed noises. The aquatic Nimria's water tank bubbled rapidly, a sign of fear in her species. This creature, Kilnoth continued, registers electromagnetic pulses strong enough to disable ship systems. Its height is resistant to energy weapons. Our xenobiology databases classify it as an apex predator from worlds where survival itself is nearly impossible. The Corvesh captain reports that his crew suffered severe psychological trauma from this encounter. Dohyun studied the footage more carefully. Something about the creature seemed familiar, though he couldn't quite place it. Then he noticed the background of the video. Those were human ship corridors. The Magellan's corridors. You transported this monstrosity aboard a civilian exploration vessel, Veltras accused. The Corvesh detected it from 300 meters away. They thought you were preparing an attack. May I see the rest of the footage? Dohyun asked calmly. Kilnoth's beak clicked in annoyance, but he gestured for the video to continue. The shaky camera work steadied as the Corvesh apparently overcame their initial panic. The creature moved through the corridor, and then something unexpected happened. A human crew member appeared in the frame. A young woman with her hair tied back, wearing standard ship coveralls. She was carrying a large titanium sphere. The creature's 3 tails began wagging so fast they blurred. The woman threw the sphere down the corridor, and the creature bounded after it with obvious joy, its crystalline spikes retracting close to its body. "Fluffy, good girl, bring it back," the woman called out. The creature returned, dropping the sphere at her feet and making a sound that could only be described as pleased rumbling. The woman reached down and scratched behind what Dohyun now recognized as ears hidden among the creature's armored plates. The council chamber fell silent. "That," Dohyun said slowly, "is Fluffy. She belongs to colonist Jiwon Choi on New Jeju, and she's currently registered for the Westminster Dog Show next month." The silence stretched longer. Then chaos erupted. "Dog show?" Veltras shrieked. "That is a Class 9 apex predator. You let your people keep these things as pets?" Kilnoth demanded. Dohyun raised his hands for calm. "If I may, I brought our xenobiologist Dr. Mireille Kim to explain the situation." Mireille entered through the side door, carrying a portable holographic projector. She was a small woman with glasses and an enthusiastic smile that seemed completely out of place, given the tension in the room. She set up her equipment with practiced efficiency. "Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity," she began cheerfully. "Let me address your concerns about Fluffy. Yes, she is from what you classify as a Deathworld. However, what you're missing is context about human-animal relationships." She pulled up a new video. This one showed Fluffy in what appeared to be a family home. A small human child, maybe 8 years old, was sitting on the floor. Fluffy lay beside her, all 6 legs tucked under her massive body. The child was reading a book aloud, and Fluffy's 3 tails swayed gently in contentment. "Humans have been forming bonds with other species for over 40,000 years, Mireille explained. "We domesticated wolves into dogs, wild cats into house pets, and countless other species. We don't see creatures as weapons or threats by default. We see potential friends." "That thing could kill that child in seconds," Kilnoth protested. "So could most human dogs," Mireille countered. "But they don't because they're trained, loved, and bonded to their families. Fluffy has been with the Choi family since she was a juvenile. She's protective, loyal, and yes, very well behaved." She showed another clip. Fluffy sitting perfectly still while a veterinarian examined her teeth. Fluffy walking beside Jiwon Choi without a leash, matching her pace exactly. Fluffy playing gently with children, her movements careful despite her size and power. "The electromagnetic pulses you detected are actually how she communicates emotional states," Mireille continued. "When she's happy, excited, or content, she emits pulses. It's like a cat purring. We've installed dampeners on ships to prevent system interference, but the pulses themselves are harmless." "This is madness," Veltras whispered. "Your species evolved on a death world. You don't understand that most civilized species cannot comprehend living with such danger." Dohyun stood, drawing all attention to him. "With respect, Ambassador Veltras, perhaps that's exactly why we can help the galaxy. You see a monster. We see Fluffy, who saved 3 children during a colony storm last year by using her electromagnetic senses to detect structural weaknesses before a building collapsed. We see a friend. Nimaria's translator crackled to life, her first contribution to the discussion. I find this fascinating rather than frightening. Perhaps we have much to learn from humanity's approach to interspecies relations. Kilnoth ruffled his feathers again, but his tone had shifted from accusatory to uncertain. The Corvettes still demand action. Their crew requires therapy. We'll issue a formal apology and offer to pay for treatment, Dohyun said immediately. We'll also establish protocols for warning other ships when creatures like Fluffy are aboard. But we will not euthanize or abandon animals who are part of human families. You would risk diplomatic incidents for a pet? Veltris asked, incredulous. Dohyun met her eyes steadily. We would risk much more than that. To humans, these aren't just pets. They're family. The council members looked at each other, uncertain how to proceed. Finally, Kilnoth spoke. This matter requires further investigation. We will table sanctions pending additional study of human-animal relations. But Ambassador Park, if this creature causes any harm, she won't, Dohyun said firmly. I stake my career on it. As the session adjourned, Mireille approached him with her tablet. The Westminster show is in 3 weeks. Fluffy's been training for months. Dohyun smiled despite the stress. Then let's make sure the galaxy is watching. If they're going to judge us, they might as well see what we're really about. On the screen, Fluffy sat perfectly still, her 3 tails wagging, waiting for the command to play.